high, this is continuation of rejection. It is 100% also safe to assume that from now on, and please read my lips if you have to, if I rented a place, be it myself or someone who works for me paid for it, or whoever it is that I was forced to use because of state of emergency, it is safe to assume that I am not romantically entrusted at all and never will be with the person who rents that place or lives there. That is, then do not offer me any places in which that person will pursue me, because that is really a harassment that in the United States is unsafe to report, because persons enforce rape as source of income for the government. And the second source, a person's forced sexual harassment to reject and to provide for eternal maybe, which is the model for hotels, especially promoting sexless couples. So assume if I rent a place, for sure do not try to come over to my place or try to have me in any way involved in children, in sex, or insinuate such in any sort of jealousy or anything else. If you want to buy leash to your spouses or get yourself a cage, I don't care, okay? And so let me see. That was Malibu. So in none of the hotels I've had sex in mind or in person, and do not want to do so with people who work there or being forced to endure negligence of police, like it was in Austin, for instance, where a person tried to impersonate housekeeping from a conference of Africans and tried to enter, and what I got is, I am so sorry, but 911 right now, we cannot come over, because some dispatch is sitting with some dildo and getting jerked off protecting some papa there running around at wild. And so he didn't arrive. I had to lock the door to make sure that that man does not break into, because he was trying. And then he says, oh, but I can provide you a training. A training you can provide me? You cannot provide training for your people apart from shooting at others and promoting the corporations to rip everybody off and feed them meat or overpriced vegetables for $20 or $50 per basic needs per 2 days, or grow anything. Even the land you cannot sell to own people or put fair pricing or anything. So anyway, again, this is to make sure that it is clear. Also, the two officers who came to that motel and did a poor job, I do not from now on ever forward wish to have anything romantically suggested to me, to them, or to by anybody else, or to anybody else. Not because they are police, because they are that bad as police mostly. I mean, that is the main reason. Also because I also do not like them. Do not like them. Do not like persons who are incompetent, wired, and to run around and harm. And unable to report it because now it turns out that it is masked by hatred toward the blacks, so whatever was done is not possible to report. I also do not like criminals enforced by government against government that commit treason. That was the case in Malibu, that again was a female officer after finding places where there were burnt cables in so-called spontaneous fires that are not spontaneous. There are negligence, purposeful negligence, and hiring persons to do so to generate income for private sector mostly, and then fees for government in executions then threatened to be paid, and that is robbery of an organized crime that is then made that officers say, oh, but don't tell me that because I don't want to know anything about nails in front of developmental agency of Malibu, and also don't want to know anything about Arabs or Chinese, not wanting us to actually have own agriculture. I also don't want to know anything. That's police, that's a federal agency who also is not interested in robbery. I mean, get rid of that place is pretty much a place where any wanker with a gun can do anything. And that is dangerous. Especially when that is a government that has more of them, but that the difference between mafia and police is none. That is most of the place that is the case. So that is the United States. What that weak federal government can do, I don't know. Apart from sitting there and blaming others for having police, not being able to take a report of an independent person to do something is to me a sign of being in a pocket of gas stations that belong to Latin Americans, and that is not that the whole place does that, because there are many that are poor and have nothing to eat or are victims of human trafficking, unlike I. Or do not have papers and then rob papers to have them that advocacy, human rights advocacy, forced on me, which is very common. The same as disparities in education. I cannot skip it, obviously, right? Because that is something that, well, has to function in society to have a good society. However, harming me to do so is the opposite. That is how also, for instance, correctional officers work. Harming them to do work or forcing whatever is good as something that is bad is what makes them ignore what I'm doing. Or first harm me and then me not wanting to work. And that is sabotage. That's called sabotage, and it is of interest of FBI, for instance, which is not possible here to use because those are people who sit or star in movies. I guess I don't know what they do, or shoot on persons that appear with a kitchen knife to keep potato. I was basically robbed of also all kitchen tools. As a physician, that is also very interesting that I cannot have a white coat even. I cannot have tools. I cannot have anything. And the same is with Mexico, with Poland, and all over the place, because persons kill using meat industry model in medicine. You eat pig, you get pig valve because that pig is dead, and in the ecosystem, whatever is killed in number of animals is killed in humans, so that we don't destroy it. That's it. That's the formula. I also would like to say that from now on forward, despite his efforts to insinuate some sort of romance and scream, "Are you grateful?" Not, I don't have much to be grateful for. Actually, I have nothing to be grateful for when the United States comes. You have a lot to be grateful for. That is what the fact is. And that should result in me being sponsored to have a passport and being waived from being shot at or killing, which is oath of the United States. I don't want that. You see, Buddhist or not, I just don't feel that it is medically also compatible with survival to make such oath and against the defense. That is the hang on, all of the persons that are in also under an impression that I want to have a romance, marriage, or sex with Nathaniel Caruso. Now, this is also from the beginning his wish, that despite me dreaming about him to write a book, okay, that does not mean that I want to be yelled at or have someone who is a criminal and being associated with him because his peeps commit crimes in a system that is corrupted, that is not possible to quickly change. But one judge went flying already, which, I mean, be it whoever does it, is the alternative of individual responsibility of judges, and not lying and presenting as decoy some sort of what looks bad and is in fact income for the area and does not cause any disturbance, to have that person who actually does that then feared and impeded from work because of work etiquette that kills, and persons do not understand that it kills them. That is what the problem is. Oh, in Bismarck, I assure 100% that I also romantically do not wish for sexual abuser, which was the social worker that works there because also of statements such as the one of the son of Donald Trump, and combined with the system that sues persons who are in love and that person rejected, which makes no sense. That is not something that makes system work. We don't lie, because then the system does not work. So from that Bismarck, both the police, the jail, and also the bars, both of those bars, from now on forward, all also of the hotels and all of people that I met being forced out by banks to not be able to access my bank account. I for sure, just because no one approached, in whoever it is that knew about it 100%, I do not wish from now on forward to be insinuated or have those persons under an impression that I could potentially love or engage in any romance with any of those persons. Also, persons who harmed me, tried to kill me, or intended to have me uh, presented as a person who is not capable of deciding or representing self to protect the judge and ongoing extortion, especially of persons who are workers, white workers, and Native American females. That's what I've seen. That was the main audience there, to have those that going on. So that is not confused. Whoever worked there from now on forward, I will never ever romantically be interested, and am not, and never dreamt about. And that is male, female, children, married, not married, and or in any diversity, remotely or in person. And the same is for persons from all of those bars and all of those hotels. And also, I would like to declare I've had no sexual relationships, and I remember everything because I was not that drunk. I actually had that planned, and which is on my blog, and went to a bar like a normal person. And that is why I do have a mastery of drinking, and I do not like to do it often because I don't have persons that are dignified company, unfortunately. And alone it is not that fun. Maybe in the winter that persons do like burnout, but that is not also right now, and I don't care about it. And so that is why the persons over there who did not come over to socialize, I don't want to know them. And who punished me for asking for friendship, and I quote as you are a woman, you're supposed to behave as one, so don't discriminate against me abusing prisoners, which was person named James, that was a different James than the ensent, but equally abusive. Maybe more, because that was a pregnant woman with hanging pants who defended her right to be raped and sexually harassed by that officer. In group that enforced it. So that is why the phone doesn't work. Then I was then called on and placed into a cell alone because they were afraid, and used a computer to I wrote about 2 or 3 chords, so I'm famous. And also I wrote to a few embassies asking for protection, and that never happened. And that they tried also to kill me. They provided me food when there was a flood, and or fire alarm went off. They kept me locked in place out of windows to make sure that well, if something happens, I die. That is why that's because the animals are killed. So whoever saves human lives is at greatest danger, because we kill too many humans and animals. That's why. So one has to be protected. You know, in normal government, persons like I do have, like in that Oregon, from Gladstone, have a car, and person who has even bulletproof car and security to do anything. Not because they're single, just because of the nature of work. From that grant land that is also advocacy and is dangerous, and are paid from government grants or by persons, especially that when they are loaded and sit on money and ask for a room $900 to sleep and not even be have a mop. That is not because of their charm, okay, but because of corruption. And corruption is reportable and is of interest because that impedes renting, especially when reputation. Oh, so I would like to say also, the person who is there asleep and screams out loud that he is an alcoholic, using that as an excuse to obtain government money to pay a ransom for that woman, who also does not work and obtains money to stay here. Those persons I have romantically no interest and never do, per also their wishes. Neither do I wish for such partners which are crooks crooked persons. There's nothing wrong with their health, apparently, apart from obesity, of course, and well, sluggishness. I do not wish them to have anything to do. I would not recommend them for such to anyone else to marry, because that is not a person that is attractive.